the stars of the night. Thank you, Minnesota Vikings, for showing up to this doubleheader and being the team that you are and adding so much freaking value to this season. We didn't expect it, but I got to admit, Sam Darnold, Kevin O'Connell, you've gotten it done. Let's go to Minnesota.
3-0 Vikings, first quarter, 5:10 to go, first and goal. Darnold, straight drop off, play action to the end zone, and touchdown! Justin Jefferson with a 7-yard touchdown from Sam Darnold.
We love you, Randy! That's for you!
Oh, great job there by Paul Allen. Great job by our producer extraordinaire, Eric Roberts, because I see what you did, Eric, there. You had the call from Paul Allen on KFAN, but then you got the audio from the TV copy with Justin Jefferson shouting out Randy Moss. Really touching moment before the game. Jake Reed and Chris Carter coming out, holding up Randy Moss's jersey. Randy Moss announced that he's battling cancer, and he's gonna Moss cancer in his words, and so we send the best to him. And a really cool touch by the Vikings, and Kevin O'Connell specifically apparently came up with that idea. An awesome job by those two wide receivers who showed up on like a day's notice and made their way to Minnesota, made their way to that game to honor the great Randy Moss. They get the win 30-12. That's the best way you can honor Randy Moss with great wide receiver play. I think they got it tonight. Other than that one Justin Jefferson drop, he goes 7 for 73 and a touchdown. Addison had a really nice contested catch. It wasn't the best offensive game shook by the Vikings, but their defense controlled it throughout. They jumped out to that early lead on some short fields. And even if Kevin O'Connell and Sam Darnold were both bemoaning kind of the lack of efficiency on offense, they put up 30 points, and this game was never competitive. That's what mid-December games are sometimes against bad teams. I didn't make me feel any worse about the Vikings, that's for sure. Nice win by the Vikings, 30-12.
I had some mild concerns just because Chicago's defense has had its moments over the last year, right? Like that's how Eberflus kept his job going into the season, was their defense carried them to some late season victories and looked like it was coming around. And at times they've been, a tough draw for opposing offenses. And it felt like they were at times tonight. Sam Darnold at times looked a little hesitant in the pocket. He froze a couple times. He made some questionable decisions in where he was throwing the football. But ultimately, it didn't really hurt them much because they're just a better team. And a lot of that had to do with the defense. You go into a game against a rookie quarterback and Brian Flores is coordinating your defense. What's going to happen, Greg? They're going to blitz the hell out of you. And that's exactly what they did. 16 blitzes, a blitz rate of 44.4%, according to Next Gen Stats. They get 15 pressures. They get a couple of sacks. They make Caleb Williams run for his life yet again. There was one play in particular. I don't know how long he held the ball for. It was
over 10 seconds. Yeah, well, I did check that one. It was over 10 seconds.
He evaded like 4 rushers. He jumped at one point to avoid getting taken down from behind and just flung a ball out of desperation. Like that's been the story of the Bears season, but especially tonight. The Vikings do a great job defensively. Like you said, gave them some short fields. They were able to convert. Sam Darnold didn't look his best. Justin Jefferson had that drop. But ultimately, they are the superior team, and they took care of business as a team with this many wins does. They stay right on track, even on a night when everything's not perfect, and they get a convincing victory in front of a national audience in all-white, snazzy uniforms and continue the train on forward.
Oh, it was not a good offensive performance. My reason I wasn't concerned is it's a team game. You're not going to have your A offense every week. I think they've had pretty close to that for the last 2 or 3 weeks. It was more like a C- passing game. Darnold barely gets over 5 yards per attempt, or he's under 6. He had that interception, which was on a 4th down. He just wasn't that accurate. Under pressure, it was the opposite of what he's been all season. He went 8 for 17 for 73 yards. Most of his throws were under 10 yards. It was actually one of his worst games, I think, because it was one of the offensive line's worst games, and that's probably the concern moving forward. Brian O'Neill looked banged up. He has not played well lately, even before this. Makes me wonder if he already was hurt. And so that is a little bit of a concern. But the running game was great. Aaron Jones was awesome. And the defense was dominant. And the offense also was efficient on those first couple of drives to take a 2-score lead right off the bat. So the situation of the game does matter to me, and you're just not going to have that A performance every week in a long season. So I'm willing to give that part of the game a pass because we are grading the whole team, and it was a really good defensive effort where Caleb looked just lost overall.
Yeah, I mean, he had a rough outing. I do caution against the people that haven't seen the Vikings very much, and because they're on national TV tonight, this is like one of their first looks at them, and they think, well, Darnold's nothing special, because he's been a lot better than he was tonight. I also am just mildly concerned because I just like to think in the next month ahead as we approach the postseason in this Vikings team. I'm always trying to poke holes in teams, and I think about depth, and right tackle was an issue when O'Neal left this game, and David Kessenberry came in and is not good, and became a clear weakness, and it affected Sam Darnold. So, like, I worry about depth, but I also just worry about, what if this is a blueprint? You have to have the personnel, obviously, to deploy this, but when you face some of the better NFC teams, when you get to the playoffs, is this a blueprint to be able to counter this offense? Can the defense then stack up on it? I'm just trying to find the little things that maybe take a team out from, being an elite contender to something below that, just to prepare myself and separate some from the others.
Well, there's such a huge difference between the 1 seed or the 2 seed and the 5 seed. And those are the 3 most likely seeds that the Vikings could have. Their playoffs start Sunday in Seattle. Now, they're not one and done the next 3 weeks, so you don't have the same sort of pressure. But the rest of their season is against playoffs, or in the case of the Seahawks, potentially playoffs adjacent teams. Now, on a short week against a team that's going to really need a win and has a dangerous defensive front, which I think could give this offensive line problems if they're not playing well. Then you have the Packers, tough division game. And that, again, that's kind of why I gave them a little bit of a pass. It's a division game. The Bears know this team pretty well. Tonight, like, it held them down. And then you're at Detroit, which could be for the division to finish up the season before a potential playoff run. If they win all 3 of those games, they have a real chance at the 1 seed. If they win all 3 of those games, they will be the NFC North champions over the Lions, which is crazy to think they control that, their fate, as it were. I hate using that. I don't want to say that ever again on this show. But they win out and they win the division. I think it's going to be very tough with that slate to win out, but they will absolutely be tested. And I think this was a good warm-up from them. I love what I see out of Jonathan Grenard. I loved what I've seen out of Blake Cashman. They survived no Stephon Gilmore. Hopefully they get him back. Defensively, they did everything they wanted to do. The Bears were 2 of 15 on 3rd and 4th down combined. And so that was really impressive. And I know it's the Bears, and Caleb just won't let go of the ball, and that was a big part of them succeeding. But I think it's partly because Minnesota was showing them so many different looks.
Yeah, and I also think that the protection could be better, but that's been the case for them pretty much all season. I'm not worried about Caleb. I think they have their guy. He has some incredible talents that have exceeded my expectations. It's just a matter of improving the situation.
I'm a little worried. Just
what are you worried about?
That he just isn't seeing the field well. He was frustrating Troy Aikman in this game, and that can easily click into place with a better coach, and probably will next year. Like, the ceiling for him is so high. I was thinking he was, one of the best prospects I've ever seen. That he's missing some open receivers. The game seems a little fast for him, and his default right now is just to not throw an interception, which is fine. It's not working well right now, but just you would like to see the processing, the decision making. But he's a rookie. I'm not worried about him being a good NFL player, but just hasn't been a good. This is almost like a worst case scenario for what I thought his rookie year could be, and it's happened.
I think it could be much worse, I think, than it is right now, because I've seen enough proof to make me think, all right, he's got it. It's just that the situation around him, the coaching staff needs to be better. There are times where the speed of the game, as you mentioned, kind of speeds him up. They were in a red zone situation tonight where he had a guy open on a fade and he just overshot him in the corner of the end zone.
Right.
The throw was there.
Bunch of those.
But that's a rookie thing. That's a thing that happens when you still
weird,
don't have
though, because he was
experience.
accurate. He was accurate, and he's trying to make all those extra plays, and it's just like.
But how much of that is a product of knowing that you have to be a bit of a hero and trying too hard? I know it sounds simplistic, but trying too hard in those situations, I think, is that's why that happens at times. I just think that the natural talent's there, and if you make the situation around him better, he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Absolutely. I was so confident that he's going to be a good pro, and still am, that this was the baseline to me of close to the worst case scenario. I mean, the team is 4-10, and
They've lost their coach. They're on an interim coach. They lost their offensive coordinator.
He's struggling out there. Everyone's frustrated. A lot of it is on the coaching. Don't get me wrong. I have no doubts long-term of Caleb Williams, but I have been test driving a theory, which even at the dinner table, I'm getting pushback. That's bias. And I know people think it's biased, but I really don't think it is. I think if you redrafted right now, I would take Drake May first.
Oh, God. Here we go. Okay.
I don't think that's crazy.
That's fair.
I mean,
and we also don't
like
have the JJ
other
McCarthy
people that are
involvement.
smart. I shouldn't say it. Other people like had Drake, not many, but some people had Drake May higher than Jaden Daniels, and some like Nate Tice even had him higher than Caleb Williams going into it. So I think if you went into it with that, I think all things considered, he's shown the most like pro traits, especially with his age and maturity of all three of them. If you're like factoring in the age and the experience, all that, I don't think it's crazy. I think all three of them are close, and
let's remove the Patriots Association for a second, okay? And I agree with you with what you're saying with Drake May. Do you think that Jaden Daniels does better in this offense than Caleb Williams has right now? Because Jaden, far and away, looks like the best quarterback in this class so far. Not on pure talent, but in results. He's had the best rookie
season. So I don't want Commanders fans to get it twisted. He's had the best rookie season, and is in a perfect situation for what he has needed to do. And yes, I think he would be doing better in this system.
Because then that's number one.
Yeah.
That's your first pick.
Okay.
What I saw from him in New Orleans.
I'm drafting for the
that's
next
fair.
10 years.
And you worry about durability or whatever else. But what I saw from him
it's not
in
even
New
about
Orleans,
durability. It's like Jaden does what he does really, really well. I think in terms of being able to manage the pocket, stay in the pocket, I think the situation around May is so bad. And if you look over the last 2 or 3 weeks, like find me the negative play where he's not making the right decision. And he's done things in terms of his decision making and his accuracy and his poise that I did not expect this early. And the physical tools are there if and when the right coach and system are around him. Jaden's floor is exceptionally high and is clearly higher than Drake May's right now. But the kid's 3 years older. Like that means a lot to me. Like he's played a lot more football. Like that's a lot. 3 years is a lot.
It's hard to separate quarterback from situation, I think. And we often do that unfairly to quarterbacks that go into really bad situations and don't produce. I think all the way back to Tim Couch, the Browns in 99 and through 2001. I mean, he had no weapons around him, no offensive line, right? But like May missed one throw in his game against Arizona. Like I know he finished 10 for 10 in the first half and everything else, but like he only missed one throw. And then I went to Jaden's game and I was like, that was pretty damn good too. Like
he was great too.
Both these guys the thing. Really
like
good.
Even the as bad as the situation is, the success rate, the EPA per play, all that with the QBR with Drake May is actually quite good. It's like above league average starter, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. So I am grading on a curve. I think it's a fun discussion. Clearly, this game didn't give us enough to talk about because we just diverted into that.
But this is what the people come to NFL Daily for.
Yes, absolutely. Love this Vikings team and what they're giving us. It's just a great, great fan base. I love the fan bases that are getting rewarded right now. The Vikings, maybe the Lions fans don't feel like they're getting rewarded, but take the big picture. They are the Bills. Like we have a lot of potentially really fun Super Bowl matchups.